42-year-old house builder Russell Ahlstrom is suing his father, 66-year-old George Ahlstrom, for destroying his personal property. George is countersuing for unpaid rent and for stealing his Jeep.
Mr. Ahlstrom, the defendant is your father.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, you rented a house from your father. He evicted you from the house, and before you could get all of your property out of the house, your personal property, he took over the house and either disposed of the property, gave it away, threw it away, trashed it, whatever.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
you're suing for the cost of that property.
Yes, ma'am.
Your father says that you overstayed in the house and that any property that was there had to be disposed of, which he did. He is counterclaiming for 2 months' rent and something about a truck or a Jeep that I will allow him to get into. When did you rent this house from your father?
We moved in August of '95.
Who moved in?
Me, my wife, and my 3 children.
And it was an amicable move-in?
Yes, ma'am.
How much rent was he charging you for the house?
$600 a month.
And did you have any other agreement with your father?
That I would repair the house and maintain it in the
of it.
condition that I received it. Yes, ma'am.
And take good care of it?
Well, it hadn't been taken good care of, so I fixed it up.
So tell me what happened that caused your father to evict you.
He was selling the property.
Did he tell you he was going to sell the property?
Oh, it had been up for sale for a year and a half.
And he discussed that with you?
No, ma'am.
Well, how did you know it had been up for sale?
There was a big 4x8 piece of plywood in the front yard that said for sale on it.
And you had no discussion with your father about him selling the house?
At one point when I said, why don't I fix up the garage apartment out back and we will split the rent after I'm paid back. And he said, okay, that's fine. And I said,
After
what?
you're paid back for what?
After I'm paid back for the construction expenses that I fixed up the apartment with.
Now, you did rent it.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was rented, and who kept the rent?
Me.
How much rent was it?
It was $600 a month for the garage apartment, and I had to pay for the utilities out of that.
So then you probably cleared $500 a month.
Closer to $4 because it was the second story, and
Okay,
it was
but-
pretty expensive to heat and cool.
So you had about 3 times as large a piece of property for $600 a month.
Yes, ma'am.
When I say that this was a good deal that your father gave you for the house, I wasn't far wrong. I'm just trying to figure out what caused all the problems with your father.
Yes, ma'am, you're far wrong because when I received the property, it was in abysmal condition.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I'd like to submit some of the pictures that I have when we moved into the property of what it looked like and submit these into evidence. What it looked like when we moved in, because when you say $600 a month, well, that's not a whole lot, but that's what the people before me were paying. One of those is a freezer that was left behind for, I don't know, he had moved out more than 2 years prior to me, and it was just left sitting there with food and meat and all sorts of frozen items in it. I had to dispose of that because of the stench.
Now, when did you move out?
And September the 7th of 2001.
Sometime between 1995 and September 2001, I gathered that your relationship with your father deteriorated.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when did he serve you an eviction notice?
In July. I
July-
mean, he had threatened to kick me out numerous times before.
July what? When did
20
you serve the formal notice, sir? Do you have a
25th?
copy?
It was sometime in June, Your Honor, because the eviction notice stated that he must be out by August the 31st.
Do you have a copy of that?
No, ma'am, I don't.
I do.
Can I see it, please? Okay. Were you out of the property by August 31st?
No, ma'am.
So you overstayed the order.
Yes, ma'am. We tried to get out, but the last week of August, it was just, we were inundated with heavy rains and flooding conditions, which I'd like to submit the headline from the San Antonio Express and News.
You didn't have to submit them. You weren't out by August 31st.
No, ma'am.
So anything left on that property after that time is considered abandoned.
Even though there's an act of God and the headlines read, waterlogged San Antonio, not out of it yet.
What was the date of that, sir?
August the 31st.
The date of that is August 31st?
Yes, ma'am.
Should have been out by August 31st.
We started trying to move out on August the 25th, and so that's why I'll read from this, and this is the headline.
No. Don't read from it, the headline. Should have been out. Any property that's left on the premises after August 31st, technically you have been deemed to have abandoned.
No, ma'am. We were still in the process of moving out. We had left.
That's what you say. I'm telling you. You had to be out by August 31st. You want to be compensated for property you left behind after August 31st. It was property that was left behind after August 31st.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you can't be compensated for it, sir.
Okay.
Now, the issue is your father responsible to you financially for things that he disposed of after the court had ordered that you be out of the premises? The answer, he is not. Now, let's get to his counterclaim. When was the last time that your son paid you rent?
This was the last check, and this was issued on July the 27th, and he stopped payment on it. And that was after he had been issued the order of eviction, and he was not out of there even by the 21st of September. That's when I had to put all the stuff in the dumpster.
So you didn't dispose of any of this property until the 21st of September?
Well, no, ma'am. We started probably around the 15th.
Just a second. Why did you stop payment on August and September's rent when you were going to be there through August?
Because I was being evicted, and he wasn't going to keep up his end of the bargain to pay me back everything that I had put into the house. And so I was going to be left holding the bag with all the improvements that I had made.
Well, that would be a judicial determination, which is not before me. So you owe him for August's rent, which was $600. Now,
I would like to question something.
yes, you can stand up.
George, you said you didn't start removing...
Don't speak to him.
Oh, he said he didn't start removing items from the property until September 15th. I have proof that on September 7th, when my mother came to help me remove our final cleanup from the property, my mother and I were parked in the driveway. Not only did he block us in with his truck, he blocked us in with the U-Haul. When he opened the back of the U-Haul to check something, I saw our belongings in there. The police were called. It was documented. When I questioned him about one item that was in the back of the U-Haul, he then decided, well, maybe I was right, and threw it out in the yard. And prior to the cops coming, he paced back and forth across the yard with a tire iron in his hand. And so here I am with my mother and my 14-year-old son, and he's pacing the yard with a tire iron.
Now, you want to give me a quick 30 seconds on this truck that you claim he took, or you want to forget it?
No, ma'am. I had bought a Jeep Commando, which is a classic, bought it from a ranch that was going out of business, and I took it home. He was going to send me the title. I took it home, and I called him and asked for the title, and he said he could not find it. So I went to the state and asked for a lost title. They told me the vehicle was titled in somebody else's name. When Russell moved in, he went to the state, and he found out whose name the title was in and asked the guy to send him the title. He sent Russell the title, signed, and Russell had it titled in his name.
When was that, sir?
93, I'm assuming.
You should have sued him then, sir, if you wanted your truck back. You don't wait 10 years later. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. He owes you $600. Your claim is dismissed, sir, for your property, and on the counterclaim, I am awarding your father $600 for the month's rent that you owe him for the month of August. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We got our day in court. It didn't work out the way we liked it.
Well, it's just a family torn asunder, but Russell has a history of doing this to friends and relatives alike.
He cusses me out.
I'm glad it's over.
It's very sad that it just can't be a family.
We miss our grandchildren very much.
At this point, they either need to get it together as a family or just forget about it.
Don't ever let it get...
Is suing her neighbor, 43-year-old cafeteria worker Deborah Jones, for an assault. Deborah says after an argument over a parking space, Juanita sprayed her with mace.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 115 on the calendar in the matter of Taylor versus Jones. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
It is clear that you two ladies are neighbors from the complaint and answer that I've read, and it is your claim, Miss Taylor, that the defendant assaulted you over the way your car was parked. She says that she was defending herself after you sprayed her with mace. So I'd like you to explain to me what kind of housing complex you live in.
It's an apartment housing complex, low income. Here's some pictures of my...
I want to see where the cars are parked, because this
This is how the cars were exactly.
Let me see, please.
My car is back here. This is hers, and this is her boyfriend's.
Okay, let me see. Okay, yours is the blue car.
Yes.
And when was this picture taken?
That was like a month after. That was on the 12th, May 12th.
But it's not the date of the incident?
No, ma'am.
Now, according to your complaint, the defendant, who I assume you've had difficulty with before, came to your house one morning and asked you to move your car because your car was parked so close to her car she couldn't get her car out.
Yeah.
And what time did she come to the house?
Around 9 o'clock in the morning, banging at my door.
And what did she say when she came to your door?
When I came to the door, she was hollering about me moving my car so she can get out, or whatever the case was. And
No, not whatever the case was. Moving your car so that she could get
so
her
she
car
could get
out.
out. Yes,
Okay.
she was hollering.
Now, when had you parked your car?
When? The night before that, when I got in.
Was her car there?
Yes.
How close did you park your car to her car?
About that close. I had to parallel park.
Well, this shows that there's plenty of space for her to get out.
Like you said, we've
Were
had
you on her
problems.
bumper? Were
No.
you on her bumper?
No.
Was she on your bumper?
Yes, she was.
Of course you were on her bumper, otherwise she wouldn't have come to your house. She was trying to get to work.
Okay.
Why would she come to your house if you weren't on her bumper? Right? Come on. You have to
She's
use
had-
common sense, Miss Taylor.
Okay.
Okay? And the fact that you didn't want to move your car or that you've been having difficulty with her, nobody takes the time to go to your house in the morning and say, move your car, get angry, unless there's a reason that you can't move a car.
May I say something, ma'am?
Yeah.
I went to get my keys to move my car.
Just a minute. She comes to the door, move your car, and you said what to her?
I have to go and get. I didn't say anything. I was going upstairs. Okay, I was going upstairs, and I'm getting my keys.
Did you say anything to her?
I said okay, and went upstairs to get my keys.
Okay, go ahead.
My mace is on my keys. I went to get my keys, and I looked outside, and she was. Well, I heard when I was going upstairs, I heard her say she was going to move. She was going to hit my car. I looked outside, and I see she was doing a U-turn to get up on my bumper. I called the police, told them. She said she's going to move my car.
Just a second. She was doing a U-turn.
Yes, because her
you
boyfriend pulled his car out by that time. I told the police, and it's in my police report, she said she's going to hit my car, quote. When I was saying that, she went around, made a U-turn, and she hit my car. I told her she just hit my car, I'm going out there. I went out there to make sure it wasn't any damages. It wasn't no damages. She was hollering, we were arguing. It was cold outside. I told her, I'm not going to be out here arguing with you. It's cold. I have on my night clothes. I'm sleepy. I'm just going to pay you dust. She was still arguing, following me up to my door, which is around the corner, and hers is right here. She's following me up to my door. She's still arguing and hollering or whatever.
What was she saying to you?
Telling me I'm getting on her nerves because wait a minute. Well, you got the picture. She always parked by that pole. When I parked by that pole, she just, I don't know, she don't like it because that's her, quote unquote, that's her spot. That's her pole. She has said it before. That is her pole. So when I park by that pole, I just get on her nerves when I do that. When I park on the street, because I usually park in the parking lot, she just get on my nerves. I park in the parking lot in the wintertime and park on the street in the summertime. I just get on her nerves. So I guess that just ticked her off.
Go ahead.
She came up on my porch. She was calling me B's and H's or whatever the case. So I called her too.
Go
You know,
ahead.
and I'm like, you know what? Forget it. You've been wanting me to sit out here and argue with her since 3 years that I've been living there. She wanted me to go out there and argue with her, and I never did. I paid her dust. Didn't even speak to her too many times. So I'm just like, I'm not gonna even go through with this. I'm going back to bed. It's cold. I gotta go to work. She come up to me and she swing on me. So I have my mace in my hand anyway. So I spray her with mace. She grabbed my coat.
Just a second. You said she swung on you. Exactly what did she do?
Well, in other words, she hit me with a clothes fist. She swung her
Where?
clothes. When she came up, when I was going in the house.
Where on your body did she hit you with a clothes?
In my face, right here.
Okay. So what did you do?
I sprayed her with mace. While I was spraying her with mace, I don't know if her boyfriend was trying to grab her or whatever, but he was right there on the porch as well. And there was a stick around in the vicinity or whatever. She threw my coat on the ground, and I go to pick up my coat. She picked up the stick. She tried to hit me in my face with the stick. I blocked it with my hand and grabbed it with this hand. Then her boyfriend grabbed me and just like turned me around, and I went in the house.
Did she hit you with the stick?
Yes.
Where?
On my hand. She hit my hand.
Did you have any injuries?
Yes.
What were your injuries?
My finger was broke. I couldn't work for like 2 months.
Let me see the report.
That's the report and the medical bills. Here's my x-rays.
And now I need the police report.
You only need the police?
And now I need the police
Okay.
report.
That's my police report.
Good.
Police report. X-rays. Now.
Okay, now I'll hear your version of the story.
Hi. Okay, Your Honor, what happened was that morning I had just got up to get ready to go to work. So I was sitting up watching my gospel like I usually do on Sunday mornings. So I looked out the window and I seen her car on my bumper. Now we've been feuding for 2 years. Okay, I have a 7-year-old son that I have to get up every morning at 6:30 and send him to school. She don't have any kids. She plays her TV all night long. She have a dog that barks all night long. Every time when I go to her door and try to talk to her and I say, could you please turn your TV down? She turns it up even louder.
So you haven't been getting along. You looked outside the window.
Okay.
I looked March
outside.
25th and you saw her
Right.
car on your
I
bumper.
looked outside. I seen her car was on my bumper. So I said, by her being the way she is, when I go try to talk to her, I said, I'm not going there with Juanita today. So what happened was I sat there, and then I looked at my watch, and I seen it was getting close time for me to go to work. So I went around there, and I knocked at her door. I said, could you move your car off my bumper? She said, I ain't moving. And that's when she slammed the door in my face and went on upstairs. Okay, I left from her door. So then I went on in the house thinking maybe she'd come and move the car. I sat there for a while. She never came to move it. So then what I did, I went back around to her house. I knocked at her door again. That's when she came outside. She sprayed me. Okay, me and her, we passed words. She sprayed me with mace first before I even attempt to do anything to her.
It's not what you say in your complaint, in your answer.
She sprayed me.
No. Pay attention.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Juanita Taylor says neighbor Deborah Jones assaulted her. Deborah says Juanita sprayed her with mace.
It's not what you say in your answer, Miss Jones. You just testified that you went to her house once, and then you went back to your house and waited to see if she would move the car. You went back to her house again. She opened the door and sprayed you with mace.
Right.
Is that what you just told me?
That's right.
Well, I'm going to read to you what you wrote in your answer. She refused to move her car and we started arguing. I walked away from her. Then she followed me around the building. The next thing I knew, she sprayed my eyes with mace. That's what you wrote in your answer. That's different from what you just told me.
Well, what happened, Your Honor, I left her house. When we got into a fight, that's when she followed me around the building. What I meant to say is, after she maced me, she followed me around the building.
No.
Okay.
So what you're telling me is she opened the door.
She opened the door.
She sprayed you with mace.
Yes, she did.
And you just walked away.
In my nightgown.
Wait a minute.
Quiet. And you just walked away.
Okay, what happened, Your Honor? When she sprayed me and her got to tussling, and I pulled her around the building, trying to defend myself. That's what happened.
Where'd you get the stick from?
Huh?
Where'd you get the stick
It was
from?
on the ground. She was macing me. I was defending myself to keep her from hurting me.
Why didn't you have your boyfriend move his car?
What happened was he tried to move his car, Your Honor, but what happened, his battery had went down on his car.
But he got his battery fixed.
Huh?
Somehow it got fixed because he did move his car.
You know how it got fixed?
I'm
Okay.
asking you a question. Somehow it got fixed because he moved his car.
What he did was, once she moved her car, he went and bought some cables. And
When did she move her car?
What'd you say?
When did she move her car?
She moved her car after the policemen got there.
That's true. I was telling them she was on my bumper, and I was giving them a small version of the story. They told me to go on and move my car up. I went back outside with my nightgown on when I saw the police coming. The only thing she said was true, was that I did move my car up and the stick was on the ground.
Where did you buy the mace?
Kmart. We need a license. We can't have pepper spray up into a certain degree. I've looked into all of this.
You bought it at Kmart?
Yes.
But when I'm
Look
saying,
at it.
Your Honor, she
It's not
maced me
nothing.
first. If
Look
she
at it.
would have moved
Here are
her
my keys
car
right here.
like I asked her to, none of this would have even started.
There's no question in my mind. Listen to me, Miss Jones. There isn't a question in my mind that Miss Taylor pulled her car up on your bumper. The two of you have been feuding for a long time. You went to her house in the morning. You were angry. There also isn't a question in my mind, Miss Taylor, that you answered her when she said, move your car, and she didn't say it in a very nice way, would you please move your car? But you also said to her, I'm not moving anything. The only reason you went outside was because she threatened to hit your car. You watched her. You saw that she did, in fact, hit your car, even though it was no damage, so you went outside. You should have moved your car.
May I say something before you go back?
Sure.
We have had problems constantly.
What are the problems, Miss Taylor?
My TV being up too loud, my music being on when I'm not even home. Again, I work third shift. She would say I play my music late.
Is it possible, Miss Taylor, that you're playing your television too loud? I just want you to think carefully. Is it possible?
Ma'am, I work third shift. I don't be. No, it's not.
Has she asked you to turn it down?
She's asked me to turn everything down.
Okay. Is it possible that she hears these things through the walls of the apartment?
Your Honor, we've had conversations through the wall. She's complained about my water. She's complained about my bath water running too loud.
Me.
I come home when I'm not working the full shift. I come home 3 o'clock in the morning running bath water.
Me.
I hear her over there cussing and fussing. She's too loud over there. I'm coming home running a bath water.
You know
she has sent police over to my house when I have not even been there. He has been there for just silly reasons. He would tell me the police just left. Well, what are you doing? I just got in and they're asking for the lease owner.
You think she's got nothing better to do?
I don't think so, because she's heard conversations. She has heard a conversation going on between me and my best friend, and now we cuss to each other, and I be on the phone, my windows will be open or whatever, and we talk about each other. She has sat there. A neighbor came to me and told me, well, number one, how do I know that you... Okay, well, they have come to me and told me things that I've said on the phone.
Miss Taylor? Okay. Let's start on the 24th of March. The 24th of March, you did a very foolish thing. Knowing that you had, and that you were in a rather acrimonious relationship with your neighbor, you exacerbated that situation by pulling your car right up to the bumper of her car. There's no question in my mind that you did that.
Okay.
Because despite the fact that she may be angry, she's on her way to work. She's not going to take the time to go out, come up to you, start an argument, if she could get her car out without doing that. So she came up to your house. I'm speaking now.
Okay.
So you did a foolish thing because the two of you really don't like each other. And if you don't really like each other, then what you're supposed to do is stay as far away as possible. And that may mean even parking your car someplace else, but certainly not parking your car right up on her bumper, which makes everybody very angry. Doesn't that make you angry? I'm speaking.
Okay.
Doesn't it make you angry when somebody parks up on your bumper?
Yeah.
It makes me really angry if somebody parks up on my bumper and I can't get out. Number two, I also believe that you had absolutely no intention of moving your car at the time that she came screaming at your door at 9 o'clock in the morning to move your car because you don't like her. And you figured let her sweat for a while. And the only reason you went outside was because you heard her say she was going to hit your car. Now, there is never a way that I am going to be able to tell who sprayed who with mace first and who hit who with a stick first. Certainly.
Your Honor, she hit me with a closed fist first.
She
then
sprayed me
this
first.
is how it went.
David is
She
the
hit me with a
witness.
closed... If she hit
He
me
was
with a...
there.
If
Were
I
you there,
sprayed her,
David?
then
Yes,
how
ma'am.
did she hit...
Step up, please.
It was just me, her, and David.
How you doing,
I don't
Your
know
Honor?
who he
Just
is.
a second.
He wasn't there.
I don't want to
Your
hear
Honor.
anything.
No,
I don't
he
wanna-
was not there.
Quiet.
Okay.
You were there.
Yes, ma'am, I was there.
Okay. How long have you been living in this apartment?
Oh, I don't live there.
You were just there that night.
Yes. The battery in my car had went down, so I left my car there. I came back over the next morning and asked Deborah, could she give me a jump? She didn't have no cables. So what it was, I pushed my car back. She never did come out to move her car, period. I pushed my car back, took her car, went up to the parts store and got some jumper cables. Came back, her car was still in the same place. I pulled, by me pushing my car back.
I just want to hear what
If I
happened.
didn't
What,
put-
if anything, that you saw
Well, I
involving
saw-
these two? Now, look at me. I want you to tell me what you saw. Make sure, sir, that you tell me only what you saw.
Okay. When she knocked on the door, she come down, and when she come down, she had some keys in her hand. Then we standing out on the porch. They're arguing. Next thing I know, I see her do this. And that's when they started fighting.
Your
I
Honor,
broke the fight up.
if I may, if it was a big deal when she went out and looked at the car, she could have sent the police over to my house like she did all those other nights
No, I
or
didn't
calling.
call.
No, don't
You could have
speak
called
to
the police.
Don't speak to each other. Sit
Your
down.
Honor,
Sit
she
down.
could have called the police
I think that
and
you
told
both
her.
behaved. I
told
think that
them.
you both behaved badly. I think what you should have done, Miss Jones, is call the police.
Yeah.
That's what you should have done. I believe that you were both injured. The fact that you had a graver injury than she did, which was you had a broken finger as a result of being hit with a stick. She did not hit you with that stick until after you maced her, which are the injuries that you are complaining about. Now, you could have taken care of the situation before it even started by
No, I
not
could
doing.
not.
You're
There was no
interrupting.
way.
You're
I'm
interrupting
sorry.
me. Oh no, you could have taken care of the situation before it even started by not parking in a situation where you knew you were going to exacerbate an already hostile relationship with the defendant. You chose the night before when you parked to park, and you said to me her car was parked there. It wasn't as if her car came in after your car was parked. Her car was parked there. You chose to park your car in such a way that she could not get out. Now, the fact that she came to your door the next morning, she may have asked you to move your car. I believe that you had no intention of moving your car. You're angry with her, you're annoyed at her, and you didn't like her attitude.
Your Honor, her
I'm
car is-
speaking! Now, there was a mutual assault. You just got hurt worse. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Come on.
She's petty, have no life.
She don't have a life.
She feels that everyone should live their life like she does. I'm young, I'm still vital.
If you had a life, you wouldn't always be trying to start something with me.
She's old, decrepit, and have nothing else better to do.
She need to get her own man.
Always bet on ugly, they always win.
Instead of her
64-year-old Mildred Terrell is suing her ex-granddaughter-in-law, 24-year-old daycare worker Love Marlowe, for destroying her furniture.
Miss Terrell, according to your complaint, the defendant married your grandson. Is that right?
Yes.
And there came a time when they were having difficulty paying rent, so you all decided to rent a place together. And you moved in to the place with them.
Yes.
And when you moved into this new place, according to you, you brought some furniture with you.
I brought everything.
All your furniture.
All my furniture, all the dishes, everything in the house was mine.
And then there came a time when your grandson left the defendant.
I moved out before then because of trouble that was going on. And as soon as he was able to take care, he had had surgery on his shoulder, and as soon as he was capable of taking care of the baby, I did move.
They have a baby.
Yes.
How old is the baby?
18 months.
And when you moved out, did you take your things with you?
Only thing I took with me was my bed, an end table, and a chair, and my TV, and a few dishes, and a couple of pants. That's all I took. I didn't want to take everything and leave them with an empty house, because that's what it would have been. Sheets and everything were mine.
And when did your grandson leave?
They were having trouble with the house, not only the rent, but other personal problems they were having. They moved out into their apartment, and they were there, I'd say,
Now, when
2
they
months.
moved out and went into this yet another rental property, did they take all the things with them?
Yes, I told them they could borrow until they got their own.
What did they take with them?
They took my couch. I have a list here, Your Honor.
Let me take a look at the list. VCR, a couch, a Lazy Boy recliner, vacuum cleaner, some VHS movies, a rug, 3 end tables, a coffee table, a king-size bed, and miscellaneous stuff, linens and dishes, a dresser, those things you said they could take with them. And when did your grandson leave?
Right around the first week in January.
And where did he go? Do you know?
He came to my apartment, was there 3 or 4 days until the harassment got so bad by Love Marlowe and her family that he went to his mother's. And then he was there a while.
And where was the baby?
With him.
Where is the baby now?
With me.
She has temporary joint conservatorship of him now.
Now, when he left and came back to you for a short period of time, did he bring any of these items?
No, he didn't get out of the house with anything but the clothes on his back.
And the baby?
She took his socks, his underwear, she kept everything.
Okay. All right.
And Your
So
Honor,
what you're suing, just a second.
and one of the times when she was there,
No.
I had a criminal trespass.
How long was your great-grandson with your grandson? Until when?
April 23rd.
Is that when a court granted you temporary conservatorship of the boy?
Yes, ma'am.
And how often does your husband see the boy?
Every other weekend.
Okay. Now, tell me what happened with all this property.
Okay. Well, when we lived in Cleveland, Texas, when she lived with us,
We lived together.
Don't interrupt her.
we did not get along because
I don't care why you didn't get along. I'm asking you what happened to the property.
she moved out. She left it all there. She said she didn't want it. You know, we could have it. Well, of course, you know, we took everything that was in the house to our apartment because it was given to us. It was ours. Then we and Andy were not getting along, so he went to his grandma's. Well, I went over there, and he told me he was going to take off with my son, that I was never going to see my son again. So I went to go get a lawyer. I came back. He told me that I could come in to see Josh in her house. So I did. As soon as I went into the apartment to go see my son, she was standing out there and she waved the cops over as soon as I walked in. Well, the only thing that I wanted to do was get my son and get out of her apartment, go back to my apartment, which is just right across the way. Anyway, well then she told the police officer that I had hit her. I never laid a hand on her. Never.
What'd you go there to take your son for? I thought you went there to visit with him.
Well, I wanted to take my son out of her apartment and go into my apartment, and he wouldn't let me. He wouldn't let me leave the apartment and go back to my apartment.
With your son?
With my son, exactly.
Well, but you had no right to him at that point. You had no more right to him than your husband had.
Well, I mean, the only thing I wanted to do was just go into my apartment instead
you
of
wanted
stay
to
there
take,
with her.
No, you wanted to take your son.
Well,
do you understand? You
yes,
went there under the pretext of coming to visit him. But it was your plan to go and take him and then take him into your apartment. That's what you just said to me.
No, ma'am. I just wanted. The only thing I asked Andy is that if I could visit him, that I wasn't going to go nowhere with him, that I could just visit with him in my apartment instead of being there in her apartment.
Yeah, but you didn't intend to give him back.
I wasn't going to take
You weren't going-
Josh nowhere.
No, but you weren't going to give him back. You were going to keep him in your apartment.
Well, Andy could have, come over there or whatever. I didn't
Right.
care.
I got it. Now, when you left, what arrangements did you make to get your things?
As soon as I could replace it, I wanted my things back.
What happens if she can't replace them?
Well, I'm sure they could, one piece at a time. Your Honor, why would I, at my age, walk out of a house with a chair and a bed, you know, after I'd worked so hard to get all of it?
I don't know. When you moved out
And
to
I
Texas,
have
it was just
copies
a
of
second.
pawn tickets where she pawned my stuff.
Did you pawn some of her property?
The movies were mine and Andy's. The VCR Andy had before we got together, and it was Andy's. And the only reason that I had pawned anything because I had to get a lawyer so I could get my son back, because Andy took my son and was gone for 6 weeks and 5 days, and I had no idea if I was ever going to see my baby again.
What does that have to do with my furniture?
Okay. Where are the 3 end tables?
I don't know what she's talking about there. I have no idea.
Is there a king-size bed?
There was, and when Andy come and got the kitchen table and his TV, he threw the bed in the dumpster.
Because there were men's underpants laying on top of the bed and men's shirt on the floor. There were stains on the bed, and I said, I don't want the nasty thing. Throw it in the trash.
You're talking about the mattress?
Yes. So we threw it in the trash.
Okay. Then you can't get reimbursed for it.
Well,
You threw it in the trash.
it wasn't that way before, Your Honor.
Who knows? You haven't seen it for a year.
I saw it before Andy left, and I know it wasn't that way. And I know there was men's underpants and his clothes laying on it that weren't my grandson's.
You can't become emotional about that and expect to be reimbursed for it.
That's fine.
Ms. Terrell, the truth of the matter is, you said to both your grandson and his wife, take this furniture, use it for as long as you need it, as you can replace it. If you said that, as you can replace it, I would like it back.
Yeah.
But there is a strong likelihood that they could never replace it, and you are not going to see this furniture again.
Well, I'm sure sooner or later they
Well,
would
sooner or
replace
later,
it.
then you get a mattress back that's a little bit stained.
Not from other men.
You don't know that. Did you do a DNA test on the mattress?
No, but it certainly wasn't
All
Andy's
right.
underpants
So we don't
on the
know
bed.
that. So we don't know that. And I'm not testing your grandson's bed either. That's not my job. All right. You have her couch and you have her recliner. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
She has
You're
the
gonna-
rug. It was in Rhonda's house the last I heard.
Who's Rhonda?
This lady standing right here.
You have her rug?
Yes, ma'am.
What are you doing with her rug?
Well, I thought it was Love's, and she told me I could borrow it.
Is it in good shape?
Yeah.
Right. Fine. So we have your rug, your couch, and the Lazy Boy recliner. Those are really the big items here.
All the
Good.
movies, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm not going to go into 104 movies. I don't know why you would leave them with 104 movies anyway.
Well, because they didn't have cable. They
give
didn't
them
have
one,
anything.
give them one at a
that's all
time.
they
Give them
could
one
do.
at a time. I cannot be a divorce lawyer because he's not here, and I can't question him
you
as
can
to whether
call
or
him.
not... What?
He sent a number if you'd like to call him.
I'm not calling him. I'm not doing your evidence for you.
No, his lawyer, really, Your Honor, his lawyer advised him not to be here.
Well, that's fine.
To
So I
not
have to
to
take
argue
things
with love.
So I have to find things here that everyone almost agrees on, and that is a couch, a recliner, and a rug. Those things I know about.
Vacuum cleaner.
You were without a vacuum cleaner for a year?
Until I bought another one.
Well, so you have one.
It was a brand new one she took.
No, you gave it to the kids to use.
That's
to use.
not giving. I love
No,
it.
you... I gotcha. Ms. Terrell, I'm following where you're coming from, madam.
Well,
I don't think
ma'am,
you're
I didn't
following
give it
where
to
I'm
her.
coming from.
Yes.
Where I'm coming from is I have children, and I have grandchildren, and if you have extra stuff, even if you have stuff that's not extra additional, you say, you don't have anything, kids, here, use this. If you can replace it one day, terrific, I would like it back. Because there's no bargaining
But you
with
don't
children.
Let it go on forever. Till it's worn out,
Sometimes
then
you
they'll
do.
give it back.
Sometimes you do. And Miss Terrell, I'm going to tell you this. In my view, if your grandson left, set up an apartment, had been awarded permanent custody of his child, and needed the couch and the recliner and the rug and the vacuum cleaner, and brought it to his house, you would not be standing here today.
Yes, ma'am, I would.
No, you wouldn't.
Yes, I would.
No, Miss Terrell, you would not. What I'm doing is I'm directing you. Within 5 days, the couch, don't make any additional stains on the couch. Don't vandalize it in any way. The lazy boy recliner and the rug, which is to go back to her house, post haste. 5 days, the court will draft an order.
How about my end tables and so forth?
She doesn't have them. She doesn't know what you're talking about. Listen, you never know what's going to happen in the future. You have every confidence that your grandson is going to get custody of his child. That may happen. It may not happen. All I'm telling you is don't antagonize the situation any further, because it's nice to have a reasonable relationship with the custodial parent of your grandchild or your great-grandchild, and to make a big deal over 3 end tables at your stage in life is nothing short of being very short-sighted. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy's right. The only reason she is doing this is because I did get custody of my
It
son.
has nothing to do with my grandson.
I think that Andy should have come to me and left her out of it.
This was all being planned before she got temporary custody of my grandson.
She does nothing but start trouble anyway.
I haven't spoken to her since last January.
Don't.
Suing DJ company owners Jennifer and Eric Stillwell for ruining their wedding video. The Stillwells say the video was free.
Mr. and Mrs. Passariello, you were getting married, and you hired the defendants as DJs for the wedding. Is that right?
Correct.
And how many hours was the reception?
We had hired them to play for 3 hours,
What did your contract provide for?
$210
Not a lot of money for 3 hours, right?
average where we live.
Okay. How did you find them? Did you find them through an advertisement, or did somebody recommend them?
In the phone book, an advertisement in the phone book.
Okay. Had you asked for any recommendations?
We only had 2 months to plan our wedding, and in their
Did they-
advertisement, it says that they do a videotaping for free, and since we were in a hurry, we decided to go with them because we also wanted the videotape, so we chose
Let
them.
me see the ad, please.
We actually have 2.
Just a second. So $210 was for the DJ. How many people? 1 DJ or 2?
They told me that there would be 1 DJ, but there would be someone there helping him.
And was there?
There were 2 other people there with him.
Okay. So that's a pretty reasonable.
Right. Very good.
So you're not complaining. Your lawsuit doesn't complain about the DJ services. Your lawsuit says that they were to provide you your event videotaped free.
Correct.
That's what the ad says.
Right.
But not the DJ services. The DJ services you paid for.
Right.
The video was free. And what you're complaining about is the quality of the videotape.
Right.
Right?
And
there was
some of the service.
Well, you never like everything that a DJ does, Ms. Passariello.
They lost our first dance song, and they also asked me to make up a song list, and the song list was not played. And we had picked out special music for the cake cutting, and it was not played either.
Ms. Paciarello, listen to me very carefully. I have made a lot of weddings. Never is perfect. Did you fire them?
Well, I couldn't send him home and have no entertainment.
Of course not. So you kept them for the 3 hours.
Right.
Fine. So you got your service provided for, because what you're suing them for is not $210. You're suing them for $2,110. You're suing them for 10 times as much as you paid because you say they spoiled your day because of the video.
It wasn't just that the day was spoiled. My husband is from New York, and his family was not able to attend, and we were counting on this video to include them so they could see, and it's so embarrassing. We cannot.
Then you should have hired somebody who was a professional videoer.
Well, their ad shows professional this, professional that, and they actually have it in a higher printing that your video service
is free.
Yes, but they're standing
Mr. Paciarello, it's ludicrous to believe that you actually thought that you were going to get both a professional DJ and a helper for 3 hours, plus a professional video, all for the bargain price of $210.
That's average where we live. It's not low. It's very average.
So what you're telling me is you can get a professional DJ and a professional video.
I don't know about a professional video.
You're not following what I'm saying, madam. It's ludicrous to believe that you could possibly expect a professional DJ plus a professional video.
They agreed to provide a video.
They provided you a video, madam. You may not like the video.
Can I show you the video?
No, I'm not interested.
It's awful.
Just a second. You should have hired a professional photographer if you wanted a professional video. How is somebody going to do a DJ, pay attention, professionally, as well as videotape an event to your liking, right? You want 2 professionals for $210.
They had 3 people at the event, 1 person to DJ and the other 2. One of the men was standing there with the camera. Now, we're not saying a professional job. We're saying at least an average job. This is
out of the
below
3 hours.
Where do you get standards?
Out of 3 hours.
Just a minute. Where do you get
hired
standards for a free service that it's supposed to be average, below average, above average?
I'm sure it's rounded into the price somewhere.
Did you call for hey, Miss Paciarello, I hear a lot of people complaining about wedding events afterwards. Sometimes I rule in their favor. When they hire a photographer and the photographer's pictures are so outrageous, you've hired a professional photographer, they are successful. But you did not hire a professional photographer. You hired a professional DJ who was giving you as a service, as a free service, a video. I'm going to ask you only one other question. Did you contact, in the course of the 2 months preparation for your wedding, a photographer?
No, his father took all the pictures for our wedding.
So the answer is you did not contact a photographer.
We didn't need to. No.
Good.
Oh,
so I hope you have good pictures. Listen, stop making a mountain out of a molehill.
No, can you view the tape, please?
I'm not interested in the tape, madam. There are pictures on the tape. Is that right?
It's a video.
You can't see it. It's so dark you can't see it. And when we're cutting the cake, the speaker for this system, they set their service up right in front of our cake table, and you cannot even see Vito except for the waist down.
You hired a DJ.
But they agreed to provide another service.
They provided another service.
No,
they gave you a video. And the fact that, Miss Paciarello, you're not going to get a dime. Understand that. You hired a DJ for $200 for 3 hours. Did you play 3 hours or more?
We played 4.
Played 4. Because they felt bad because they broke our first dance tape.
Fine. Well, that's just a second. That's a very nice thing. So they played for 4 hours. They played for 4 hours.
But I told him to leave. No. Yes, we did. He asked us several times if we wanted him to stay for a half an hour for 35 or a full hour for 70, and I told him no, because there was only like 30 people left.
Just a second. So are you telling me they didn't stay for 4 hours?
They did, but I didn't tell him to.
I told him he could leave. Miss Paciarello, get this straight. They played at your wedding for 4 hours for $200. And for that, you also believe you are entitled to a video that is totally satisfactory to you. No. You are not entitled to that. Did you ever hear the expression, you get what you pay for?
Did you ever hear the
No,
expression?
don't ask me any
"Nothing's
questions.
free"?
That's right. Nothing is free, and you get what you pay for. Case closed. Case is dismissed. That's
Parties
all.
are excused. You may step out.
Mr. Pastoriello called me and said that he was very displeased with his video. I said I was sorry. I had no control over that. It is a free video. We do not promise professional quality. Our service is a professional
All parties in the matter of McCrae versus Lathers Higginbottom. Step forward, please.
43-year-old realtor Kathy McCrae and her daughter, 11-year-old Heather, are suing 44-year-old Brenda Higginbotham and 52-year-old Johnny Lathers. Kathy says Brenda and Johnny's son, 14-year-old Lawrence Lathers, shot her daughter with a BB gun.
All right. No, you stand up here. Step up. Only the children were there that day. The parents were not. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that correct? So, you were shot in the hand with a BB gun. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened.
Me and my cousin Casey were walking down the street. His dog started barking at us.
Whose dog?
Lawrence's dog. So he told it to be quiet. Franklin and Mikey, those are some neighborhood friends of Casey's, they said that they could get the dog to be quiet, so they went inside and got Lawrence.
These two other boys?
Mm-hmm.
Went inside where?
Went inside his house. And
went inside Lawrence's house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And so he came out with a BB gun.
Who came out with the BB gun?
Lawrence did. So I was going to tell Casey, but she told me, she said, I know.
She knew what?
That he had a gun. So then we were going back. Casey said, just ignore him. So I did, and then we walked across. We were going to the stop sign, and he shot, and it had hit me in the finger.
How many people had BB guns?
Just him.
Okay. Is the BB still in your finger?
No, ma'am.
It was taken out?
Yes, ma'am.
It hurt you?
Yes, ma'am.
You have any scar there?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please? Come on up here. Show me where.
Right there on the middle finger.
How many times did they try to take the BB out of your finger?
2 times.
Did it hurt?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was inside, and I seen them walking down the street because I was on the phone. The dog was barking, so the doorbell rung, and Mikey told me he came knocking on the door, and I told the dog to be quiet, and I told him he couldn't come around there because they don't allow him in my house. So he left, and then I went back inside, and I was on the telephone, and then they kept passing down the street, and I was just looking out the window. Then I told the dog to shut up again, and when they passed by, they was going down the street, then the doorbell rung again, and it was Mikey. And I asked him what he wanted, and he had this pellet gun. And he told me to come outside. And then he was shooting at the sign across the street.
What were you doing?
I was on the telephone at first.
Not at first. When you went outside, you brought your BB gun outside.
Yeah, I went and got my gun because he had
Right,
his.
you went and got your gun and you went outside.
But they was going down the street, but Mikey was still at my house. They had left after the second time. And they walked down the street, and then he came and rung my doorbell.
I heard that. But you left out the part that you went outside with your BB gun.
I went outside with my BB gun, and we were shooting at the sign across the street.
Right.
And then after that, I told him I was about to go inside because it was getting dark. And I went inside, and I got back on the telephone. And about an hour later, the police came.
Right. Good. Stand where you are.
The police came.
I'm not interested in what happened with the police. So you and your friend were shooting, and it is your defense that how can you tell which BB shot her?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't matter.
Well,
it doesn't matter. If 2 morons are shooting a BB gun out in the street and there are no markings on BBs so that you can't tell which gun it came from, they're both responsible. Period. End of discussion. Don't try to make yourself appear foolish, sir. There's no discussion. That's why there's no issue here. You had absolutely no right to go outside and shoot that BB gun unless there was a totally clear space. Nobody there. Nobody could get hurt. And if you didn't train him to do that, or if you trained him and he didn't listen, you are responsible for his actions. Who bought him the BB gun?
Ma'am, the distance
Who bought him the BB gun?
We did.
We did. There you go.
The distance that the young ladies got shot at, BB guns doesn't reach that far.
What do you think? She shot herself in the hand?
Oh, well, she left there with little Frankie. Now, he had a BB gun. Now, what happened to his? Why he didn't do it somewhere? We heard this lady. She didn't holler when she got shot. Nothing happened. She didn't show nobody she was shot. She ain't told nobody. How can a kid get shot with a BB gun and says nothing to nobody?
Where did you want her to come back to your house?
Well, she could go to the neighbor's house. Anybody, a kid
She
should
went
go.
to her house.
Okay.
She went to her house.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Go ahead.
Mikey left Lawrence and went down the street where these girls were with his BB gun in his hand after he and Lawrence finished shooting.
Maybe.
So who is to say Mikey didn't?
Who's to say? I don't know who's
when
to
he was
say.
down there.
All I know is that 2 idiots were shooting BB guns into the street. And it had to be into the
They were
street
shooting
where there
at-
were people and cars because there's a stop sign there which indicates that the police feel that that street corner is sufficiently dangerous to put up a sign, which means that cars cross and people cross.
It
They were
wasn't a
shooting.
stop
It wasn't a
sign.
stop sign.
He just told me he was shooting at a stop sign.
At the speed limit sign.
Yeah, but that's not.
further down
But that's further
Judgment
down
for the
street.
plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Idiots. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Better solution was if they thought that the BB gun, 2 idiots were shooting a BB gun, that both idiots should pay.
I kind of think it was an accident, but you shouldn't be having a gun out there, period, at his age.
We both should have been charged if they think we both did it.
Well, he shouldn't really have a BB gun in the first place.
Lawrence shouldn't follow other people. He knew the rules not to take a BB gun outside.
I really believe that people should not give their children guns, whether they be BB guns.
Year-old accounts receivable clerk Ruth Ackerman and her daughter, 18-year-old Crystal, are suing Crystal's half-sister, 24-year-old office manager Melissa Peart, and her husband Tyson Peart. Crystal says Melissa won't return her furniture.
What's your first name?
Crystal?
Crystal, this is your sister.
Yes.
You're the mother.
Yes.
You're the husband.
Yes.
Hers. According to your complaint, there came a time that for some reason you moved into your sister's home with her husband. Had she been living with you before?
My daughter?
Yes. How old were you?
I was 17 at the time. Oh, sorry, 18 in November. I just turned 18.
Why did you go and live with your sister?
I was living at a drug home at the time with my friends, and she suggested that would be the best place for me to
What do
be.
you mean a drug home?
Friends using drugs.
How long had you been living there?
For about a month and a half.
Where had you lived before that?
With my mother.
Why did you move out of your mother's home?
Because I was a rebellious teen.
So your sister did a nice thing. She said, come and live with me.
Yes.
You lived there from November of 2000 until when?
To February.
And then she told you to leave.
Yes.
Why?
Well, we weren't getting along the end of the last month in February and January. Weren't getting along. She did kick me out about 5 different times.
Were you breaking the rules?
Yes.
This lawsuit says that when you left 2 things there. One was a chest and your bed.
Correct.
And you want those things back or their value. Your sister says she held on to them for about 6 months and then got rid of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where did you go after you left your sister's house?
I moved in with a friend into an apartment.
Why didn't you take your chest and your bed?
We couldn't fit it in.
Did you tell your sister that?
Yes.
What did she say?
She didn't say anything. She
Did
was
she
very
let-
silent towards me.
You were angry with her?
I was, Your Honor. I gave her 7 days to move her stuff out.
And this chest and bed, were they in a room that you needed?
Yes, they were.
She doesn't have to keep your stuff forever.
A couple times I was trying to make arrangements with my friends to get a truck to go in there and get my stuff out. Unfortunately, I have no truck. I have a little car, can't fit a bed and cedar chest on top of it.
When did you sell it?
June.
Who did you sell it to?
I sold it to a coworker of my husband's and to a friend.
Okay, how much did you get for it?
Total together, I got 110.
Now, your daughter moved out in February.
Mm-hmm.
Did you call your other daughter in February or March and say, I'm going to come and pick up this bed?
No, we didn't.
Why not?
We actually did tell Crystal that she could store the stuff at our house. We kept telling her to go get the stuff.
And she didn't?
And she did not go get the stuff.
When you moved in with your sister, you lived there for November, December, January, 3 months. Did she support you?
Yes.
You weren't working?
No, I was looking for a job. I had a job when I was living there, and I did lose the job.
So your sister took care of you?
Yes.
So why would you want to sue her?
I just want my stuff back.
She doesn't have it.
Well, I want what she sold. That's my bed, my cedar chest. My cedar chest means a lot. I got it for my 16th birthday from my parents. I mean,
Oh, she sold both things.
it's
So-
valuable stuff to me.
She doesn't have them. She kept them in her house for months. You couldn't get a truck. Your mother wasn't talking to her directly, she was talking to you. She could have stored the stuff but never made arrangements, and I assume that you and your other daughter are not getting along for some reason. Is that right?
In the last couple of months, yes. Prior to her moving out and that, no. We were fine.
Wow.
Your Honor.
Yes.
And the reason why this pretty much whole thing started, because I found my biological father, and when my grandfather passed away in May, he was asked to be a pallbearer, not my stepdad. So now the family's mad at me because I found my real dad, and they're just vindictive towards me right now.
She found her father 5 years ago, and I knew that 5 years ago, and I accepted that as long as she kept it to herself. Her father signed legal rights for adoption. He wanted nothing to do with her, and within my books of my feelings, he had no rights to her at all. I did tell her, that's fine, but you keep it to your side, your family, that's fine that you've seen your father. I did not need it in my life. I didn't have to have it in my life. My father that passed on was my father. She was only a granddaughter. A funeral is for the people who are alive, not dead. And my father wanted a quiet family funeral, and he was not my family. He might have been my daughter's, but he was not my family. So due to that, yeah, we got a lot of hurt out of it.
It's time for it to be over.
It is. And because of all this, Crystal decided to go get her stuff. I kept telling her to get it. Crystal was sick the day she made arrangements to go get the bed. I went with my daughter, Tracy, to go get it, and she was not home that day. So within 2 days, she had sold the bed, apparently.
But meanwhile, she took care of your daughter. And if the bad feeling that exists now between you and your daughter has to do with her finding a biological parent and involving him in your father's funeral, which is, I assume, what you are hurt about, you have to understand something. When you make choices, you made a choice, you had a child, and so did her biological father at that time, and I assume you were both much younger, but children have a natural curiosity. Children very often have a need to know their biological parents. Even if her adoptive father was wonderful to her, there is sometimes that need. And maybe it was wrong for her to involve her biological father in your father's funeral. I don't disagree with that. But it's over. It doesn't mar something forever. It doesn't mar that.
Your Honor, it wasn't me involving him into the funeral. It was actually my grandfather's wishes. They were very best friends in the past, and within the last 5 years, he begged me to bring him around because my grandpa was on his deathbed. And I brought him around only under my grandpa and grandma's wishes, and it was my grandfather's wishes to have him there. It wasn't me. I had no idea.
Did you tell that to your mother?
I surely did.
I don't
Certainly
believe
did.
it. I'm next to my dad on his deathbed. I was about the last one to see him before he went into his coma.
Well, what about your mother? Did your mother tell you that that's what he wanted?
My mother didn't tell me until the day we was at the funeral home making the arrangements of who the pallbearers were. That's
but
when
did
she
your
told
mother
me.
tell you that that was your father's request?
She said, I don't believe her.
Then you don't believe your mother and you don't believe your daughter?
No.
Then you have a problem.
No, because in Christmas time...
No, then you have a problem.
My father said what Melissa was doing was wrong. So why would he found something different?
Maybe it's because that's what he thought you wanted to hear. Why would your mother, who I assume lived with your father for how many years?
30 years.
30 years. Why would your mother do something that she knew was exactly the opposite of what your father would want done at his funeral? In any event, she doesn't have the bed and chest anymore. She sold them. Did you tell your mother you sold them for $120?
I miscalculated. I apologize.
We have the bills of sale.
I have the
for
bill
both.
of sale.
Can I see them, please?
I actually
And the
sold...
rental agreement that Crystal signed.
I have the bill of sale on both of them, and I actually sold them on the 11th of May and the 1st of June. I arranged for pickup on the 4th of June. After I gave Crystal, I talked to her, wanted to give her one last chance to make arrangements to come get it, but she didn't.
You have any problem giving your sister the $110 you got for her things?
I do.
Missy didn't sell the bed.
I want to
for-
explain something to you. This is a non-case. $110 is what she sold the stuff for. You're suing for $600, which is ridiculous. It costs more than $600 to feed you, take care of you, provide you with a home for 3 months, which your sister did, so I have no idea what you're doing here. However, I don't think it's fair that you keep the money for her things, so I'm going to give her the $110. That's it. Do you understand? Instead of saying thank you, you sue her. Ridiculous. Goodbye.
Why is that excuse, Miss?
It's really sad to know that they do this to their own family.
Do not want nothing to do with her. She can raise it.
Is suing 50-year-old artist Carrie Fritz and her son, 19-year-old cook Kevin Fritz. Hondo claims Kevin hit him in the head with a socket wrench.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 166 on the calendar in the matter of Griffith versus Fritz. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mrs. Fritz, you are really here as what I call a nominal defendant. You are suing on behalf of your son over repercussions of this incident. Is that right?
That's correct.
Kevin, step up here, please. Mrs. Fritz, I'd like you to have a seat.
Thank you.
Mr. Griffiths, back in February of 2000, there was an incident that started at a gas station. As a result of that incident, it was your claim that the defendant severely assaulted you. He was arrested. That case went to trial. He was convicted. That case was appealed once. Your appeal was denied. It was appealed again. And just recently, the conviction was overturned, and you were acquitted of the charges. You are now suing the defendant civilly for the injuries that you sustained as a result of this altercation. And there is a cross-claim by Mrs. Fritz, because it is their claim that your actions instigated this incident, and she and her family and her son were put through well over a year of torture. So, Mr. Griffin, I'd like you to tell me your version of the events of the 7th of February, 2000.
Okay, I was filling up my truck. I had a truck and trailer.
At a gas station?
At a gas station. I started to walk around my trailer on the driver's side, and Kevin Fritz was driving a vehicle that spun out real recklessly. He almost hit me.
Okay, he didn't hit you.
No, it was so close. I was scared. I was scared to death. I yelled. Jesse Letterman.
Someone in the passenger seat.
In the passenger seat. Started yelling obscenities. I got upset. I was scared. I thought he was going to pull a weapon. I used necessary force.
No. Don't tell me you used necessary force. What did you do?
I slapped him across the face.
So you walked up to the car.
It was real close.
You had to have walked
I made a step, ma'am.
Towards the car?
Yes, ma'am.
You reached into the car and slapped the passenger.
After I heard him reaching for something.
Don't make things up, Mr. Griffin.
I'm not,
Listen to
ma'am.
me. You didn't hear him reach for anything. I've been in this business a long time. You slapped him. You didn't hurt him, I assume, but you slapped him with an open hand?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened next?
He exited the vehicle, went into the store, and called the police, from what I know.
So he got out of the car. He didn't confront you.
Oh, he confronted me, man. He was yelling.
How did he confront you?
He was cussing. He was yelling, saying he's going to go call the police.
And that's what he did?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What happened next?
He came out of the store. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him making a fist up like he was going to hit me, and I dropped him on his butt. I did a slide kick and dropped him on his butt.
Okay, let's do this slowly. Had you finished with your car, filling up your car?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he say anything to you?
Oh, yeah, he was cussing.
And the next physical thing that happened was what?
Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him reaching up to hit me, and I drop slide kicked him, put him on the ground.
What happened next?
Kevin Fritz ran up from behind, from what witnesses say. But
You didn't see anything else?
I didn't see anything till after.
That's the last thing you remember, drop kicking his friend to the ground.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you woke up?
No, ma'am, no. I'd never lost consciousness. What happened was Kevin Fritz came from behind, from what witnesses say.
You can't tell me what witnesses say, sir.
But this is the key fact. I remember him hitting me in the forehead where I've got a permanent scar, and I remember seeing him.
Okay.
Okay?
I don't think that he denies that. Is that right?
That's right.
Did the police arrive subsequently?
Shortly after.
You have the police reports?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them.
There's some medical records in here, ma'am.
I'd like to see those.
I want to keep them confidential.
Okay. Were you with anyone else, sir?
Yes, I was.
What's the name of the person you were with?
Daniel.
All right, Mr. Fritz, I'd like to hear your version of these events. You and your friends are driving in a car, perhaps a little too quickly. What happened next?
I was the one driving. Jesse was a passenger, obviously. We had Amber, a friend of ours, in the back. We heard just screaming. It was cussing and vulgarities. And we looked outside, and there he was, like 20 feet away, screaming at us, and we didn't know what for, so we, you know, obviously started screaming back. And as he went up to the car, just Jesse reaches to roll up the window, shut him out.
What'd you go into the gas station for in the first place?
We were using the phone. And as we pull off, we hear him screaming and cussing, and Jesse reaches to roll up the window because, you know, you're thinking, what is he doing, blah, blah, blah. And he slaps him. So I put the car in reverse. We pull back up to the phone that we were just at, and we're like, all right, that's assault, Jesse, go call the police. He walks into the Dodge's store to use the telephone, and as he walks out...
And you're sitting in the car?
Yes, me and Amber.
While you were sitting in the car, did you notice where Mr. Griffiths was?
Yes, he walked back to his truck as Jesse went into the store.
Where did he go when he came out?
He got about 10 feet away before they started arguing. Jesse told him he just called the police. Don't take off, the police are coming. I'm gonna file a charge on you, you know, assault. Me and Amber were talking, and second I looked up, all I knew is Mr. Griffith and his buddy were hovering over Jesse, and he was on the ground.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hondo Griffiths claims 19-year-old Kevin Fritz attacked him with a socket wrench. Kevin says he was defending his friend.
What did you do?
Whenever I looked up, I just saw him on the ground, and I knew I had no idea what they had done to him. I just knew he was on the ground or whatever else. I grabbed a socket wrench that was under the front seat and ran over there screaming at him and got no response, to where I hit him and his buddy came around Jesse swinging at me like, oh, crazy or whatever, hit me one time, and so I retaliated and hit him. And I got Jesse and I was like, all right, let's go to the car. The cops are coming anyway, because I didn't know if they had a gun in the car or knife or if they're gonna retaliate back on what I just had done. Anything's possible after that point. So we take off, get less than a block away, and they tell us to come back to the store. We did.
Hey, Jesse.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to hear you, please. The first thing that happened that you remember, first physical contact, was being slapped by Mr. Griffin. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me how that happened.
Like Kevin said, I was in the car, and we were driving off, and we heard somebody yelling at us, and we didn't know what it was for. Realized he was shouting about the way we were driving, because I listened to part of what he said, and I shouted back at him, and he comes up to the window. He's shouting right by the window, I guess, for like 10 seconds or so, and I don't want him in my face anymore, so I reach to roll up the window, and he slaps me at that point, and so I get out of the car.
You got angry, as you rightfully should have. Got out and made a phone call and called the police. Now, I want you to tell me what happened when you came out.
Well, I came out of the building, and I notified them that I had called the police.
What did you say to him?
I said, well, before I went in the building, I told him I was going to call the cops. And I told them that they were on their way to stay here. And we started yelling. I can't remember exactly what we were saying. We were still really, adrenaline was pumping. We were still really just going at it. And then he came up to me and like punched me like this, you know, on my chest, and then swept kicked me on my feet and got me on the ground.
What happened when you fell to the ground?
He got even closer and just stood over me like this and looking down at me. And
Did you see a second person?
Yes, ma'am. He basically followed what Honda was doing and stood over me.
Just stood over you?
Stood over me.
Are you in possession of any other police reports?
I think we have some, yeah.
Ask your mom if she can help you. I want to make sure I have them all.
It's all spread out.
This is it right here. That's a police report.
Do you want me to bring it up to you?
What are you doing with a wrench in the car?
It was actually supposed to be in the trunk at the time, and we had used it before to help somebody with changing out a tire or something, and we just kept it in the front.
Did you keep it in the front for protection, Mr. Fritz?
It wasn't my car.
Whose car was it?
Jesse's.
So it was your car. You
Yes,
keep that wrench in front there for protection?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
All right. Don't bull me, please, because
Oh.
that's not a smart thing to do,
Yes, ma'am.
right? If you were older, it wouldn't be smarter. At your age, to try to fool me is really an act of stupidity. You have the appellate decision?
Yes.
This isn't the appellate decision.
That is what they gave us. In January 31st, we went back to court, and it was dismissed. I do have, though, from the Tennessee Claims Commission, Hondo evidently tried to get victims' compensation, and he was denied that because it was obvious that it was his fault.
Mr. Fritz, how many days did you spend in juvenile detention?
32 days.
Was that your first time in juvenile detention?
No, it wasn't.
When was the time immediately preceding that?
When I was 16.
For what?
Unruly. It was actually a runaway charge.
Other than the, what we call a person in need of supervision, unruly, had you ever been arrested for a crime before?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
Again, when I was 16.
For what?
It was a DUI.
So one DUI, one incorrigible, and one assault.
Yes, ma'am.
All by the time you're 16. And what about you, Mr. Letterman?
Yes, ma'am. I had been arrested for petty theft at a gas station.
Is that your only arrest, Mr. Letterman?
Yes, ma'am. At that time, it was.
And now?
No.
What do you mean at that time?
Well, at that time, it was. I had a little bout with a credit card that they gave me checks for, and I wrote them for over the amount, so they got treated as personal checks, and I got 2 arrests for those.
Bad checks?
Yes, ma'am.
And how old were you when you had these bad checks?
I wrote them when I was like 18, I guess, and they just came through and served a warrant on them.
You should never give kids who are 18 years old a credit card and those blank checks. You had a bench trial with regard to this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And the judge found you guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did your family hire a lawyer, or did you use a state lawyer?
We had an attorney.
Did you pay the attorney?
Yes, we did.
How much?
I'm not sure.
We had a public defender at that time.
You had a public defender.
Oh, all right. Well, I was a juvenile, yeah. Public defender.
Mr. Fritz, I'm going to give you some very good advice that's going to last you for a long time. Sometimes people have problems saying these words, but I want you to listen to them very carefully. I don't know. When somebody asks you a question and you really don't have the information, you don't make something up. You say, I don't know.
Okay.
Guys sometimes have a problem saying that. So they make up things.
All right.
And we call them a Fritz fact, you know.
Say that again?
We'd call that a Fritz fact rather than the truth.
A Fritz fact?
A Fritz fact. That's your last name. It's a Fritz fact.
Right.
It's not necessarily true, but something that you made up. So when I ask you a question, I expect an answer.
I was pretty sure that we had hired Ed Madden, so I didn't know.
Well, I guarantee you that if your family had spent $15,000 or $20,000 on a lawyer, you would have known.
Yeah, I'd probably hear about it.
All right, Mr. Griffith. All boils down to this. Did your actions precipitate what happened that day? And if they did they precipitate them to the extent that the defendant was justified in taking the action he did?
No, ma'am.
Oh, I think that they did. You did not go up to this car and slap this young man for the purposes of defending yourself. If you did, given what little we know about you, you were in the Marine Corps?
No, ma'am.
Military?
Yes, ma'am.
You would have grabbed him by the collar, pulled him out of the car if you felt as if you were in danger.
Not necessarily so, ma'am.
Oh, well, that's what I think. And what I think is the only thing that's important. What you did was you humiliated him. You were shouting obscenities at each other. You approached the passenger side of the car and you slapped him. You can't do that.
May I say something, please?
No, you told me your story. You have absolutely no right, because you could have extricated yourself very easily from the situation by getting in your truck, which was already filled up with gas, and leaving. Chose not to do that. You chose to continue to engage in a confrontation, and you went up there, and the first physical movement was you touching him. Now, you didn't hurt him. You slapped him. You humiliated him. And what did he do? He did not get out of the car to punch you. He said, I'm going in to call the police. Did what he was supposed to do. Now, you would have me believe, Mr. Griffith, that after he went inside and called the police to come and respond because he had been assaulted, his intention was to come outside and assault you while he was waiting for the police to come. Because that's what you said to me. You said he came out and he had a fist up as if he was going to hit me. Doesn't make sense. I mean, he may be a stupid kid, but he's not crazy. You don't call the police and then
I'm sorry.
We'll get to your case in a minute. You don't do that. No normal person does that. Calls the police and said, well, now I'm going to assault him and really give it to him. You were still angry, and you kicked him. That was the second physical contact initiated by you, Mr. Griffin. And then your friend came over, and now there are two people over him. All he sees is his friend down, being hit for the second time.
It's not true, ma'am.
That's what you told me.
I didn't say anything about afterwards. My friend ran up to protect me and tackled him.
No. Sir, you just testified, Mr. Griffin, that he came out of the store, you were yelling and screaming back at one another, he balled up a fist as if he was going to hit you, and you drop-kicked him to the ground. When Mr. Fritz turned around and saw you and around him, knowing you had slapped him before, and for one reason or another, he's down on the ground now, he took action to protect his friend. And that's what the appellate court, in all probability, said, that this was an unfortunate incident, but certainly not one for which he should be held criminally responsible, because the physical part of this altercation was initiated by you. So, sir, your complaint is dismissed. Now, let us get to your counterclaim, which is also dismissed, because as cute as you are here today, I have a feeling you're a wise guy. Now, was there another way that you could have dealt with this other than hitting him over the head with a socket wrench? Perhaps. Perhaps. Do I think that you were maybe a little bit out of control that day, driving your car in a fashion that almost hurt Mr. Griffith? Perhaps. The justice system worked because you were found guilty by one judge beyond a reasonable doubt. The second appeal, which they went over all of the records, which they clearly found that there was substantial evidence, not evidence beyond a reasonable doubt, substantial evidence, far more evidence than I need at this trial, found that you were guilty. I certainly hope that the next 30 or 40 years of your life is spent outside the court system. Are you living at home now?
No, ma'am.
Where are you living?
In an apartment.
How old are you?
19.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a cook at Hooters.
See what I mean? Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My best friend for 6 years and roommate at the time on the ground. I wasn't thinking clearly.
He missed the back of my head, and when I spun around, because I felt the wind upswing, he hit between my eyes.
All I could think of is just, hey, get these people to stop.
He left the scene. Both of them did.
They go back to the
Engineer Ronald Rawls and his girlfriend, 44-year-old homemaker Janice Olson, are suing Janice's son, 22-year-old construction worker Michael Olson, for an unpaid loan and the cost of airline tickets.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 26 on the calendar in the matter of Rawls, Olson versus Olson. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Olson, is this your husband?
No.
Who are you?
I'm the mother of Mike Olson.
But you and Mr. Rawls live together.
No, we don't.
Did you ever?
No.
According to your complaint, I understood that you had been a couple with the co-plaintiff for 15 years, so I assumed that you lived together. That is not true?
No, ma'am. She lives in her home and I live in mine.
That's probably why you've stayed together for 15 years. True.
Good one. Very good.
That's the recipe. Is that the recipe?
Yes.
According to your complaint, this is your son.
Right.
There came a time a couple of years ago when he was entering the military, and he had accumulated some money in credit card debt. And you consolidated all of those bills and paid off his credit card debt with an agreement that he would pay you back.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's some other nonsense about plane tickets, which is a couple of $100, which really is not something that I have to address. And you claim that he has not repaid that debt.
Not in its entirety.
Okay. When did he enter the military?
Approximately 2 years ago.
And how much was the debt?
Give or take around $9,000.
How did you rack up $9,000 in bills?
Just got a little wild with the credit cards.
Were you working at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
And you consolidated all of his credit cards and paid off the $9,000?
For the second time, Your Honor. We did it 2 years before that on the same situation.
But this is the one you're talking about now?
Yes, it is.
This $9,000. And according to you, over the last couple of years, he must have made substantial payments towards that $9,000. Because the balance, according to your complaint, is only $1,462.39.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds pretty good to me. So he paid the vast majority of the debt.
Right.
All right, so I am concentrating in your claim on this remainder of the $9,000 debt. Do you, Mr. Olson, dispute the fact that there is about $1,400 left?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Well, tell me about why you dispute it.
There's only $900 left on the credit card that I owed to pay. He put $400 for plane tickets that they agreed to pay for.
No, I'm not talking about the plane tickets. I'm just talking about the loan.
The loan that I owe is only $900.
Is that right?
No.
What's the other several $100s for?
$1,401.38 was the last payment. There's the canceled check.
And what was the balance?
That was the balance, and then there was a $31 interest that I paid after that came in late after we paid the card.
Why did you do that?
He refused to pay. He says, I'm not paying anymore. The credit card was her credit card in her name, so it had to be paid.
Did you put his airline tickets on here too?
The airline tickets are on there. I don't know that I have all of them.
Just a minute. Well, that's what he's saying. He's saying you said that you would pay for airline tickets for him, and yet you charged the airline tickets on this card, which was the consolidated loan. Did you agree to pay for the airline tickets for him to come home?
If I might, Your Honor, I came home one night to dinner, and Janice told me, says, you probably should talk to Mike. He's really suicidal. You need to talk to him. I called him on the telephone, and I says, things can't be as bad as that, Mike. And I says, just be patient, and things, they'll always work out for you. He convinced me that he was suicidal. So at that time, I says, Mike, how much are the plane tickets? He says, $80 each. I says, your mother and I will buy you 2 tickets a month every other weekend to come home. And I says to his mother, if indeed this will keep him from doing something stupid, why, it's worth $160 a month. That was 2 months before he was discharged. That would have made us responsible for 3 tickets, because the last ticket the Navy bought when he came home. But that was on a Wednesday night. Friday, he's home with an airline ticket of $169. He's talking $80, and next week he's home $134.
Mr. Rawls, listen to me, sir. I understand what the discrepancy is. He says it's $900. The others are for plane tickets, so you want them to get the cheapest possible fares.
That's what he agreed to.
Now I understand.
3/8 is $240.
I understand. Mm-hmm. Tell me why you're so angry if we're talking about not very much money.
I have to tell you, Your Honor, this thing started out with Mike as a teenager. The first thing he does, he goes out in the neighborhood.
Not a teenager anymore. Now he's 22 years old.
Well, he cuts the tires off a bunch of the neighbors' cars. He cuts the school bus seats all up.
Shh, listen to me. Listen to me, Mr. Rawls. You've had difficulty with him as a young man. He's 22 years old now. I wish my kids were as diligent as paying back as he was, you know, because what he owes you really is under $1,000 if you consider the plane tickets and why they were purchased. So there must have been something after he was discharged from the Army that caused you to even go so far as to take out a summons and complaint. I don't understand it.
He made $1,000 a month. He agreed to give us half of it to pay this credit card off. The first thing he starts to do, he runs down with that ATM card every time that you get paid. He keeps sticking it in there, hoping, and quick as the money was there, he grabbed it. He'd take it all to start with. We had a real problem. We had to pay $300 on one payment we even forgot to sue for. We had to pay due to the fact that he grabbed all the money. The payment had to be made.
Talking about not a lot of money when you're talking about a child. How many children do you have?
3.
Is he the oldest?
Middle.
Middle.
So I contacted the Navy, and they told me what I needed to do to see that these payments were made. I advised him was what the Navy said, so he left the money alone for about a year. And then at the last, well, he'd leave a little bit and take most of it. And at the very last, he took it all.
Let's say, Mr. Olson, that you owe $900 and you've owed that for a year. Why haven't you paid it?
Ma'am, when I got out of the Navy, we got done eating dinner, and he came in with the credit card bill, the statement, and said, Mike, this is how much money you owe. It's $1,400. And I go, no, Ron, it's not $1,400. It's $900. And he said, no, this is what you owe. And I go, well, what are the new charges on this credit card statement for? It was $410. And he goes, oh, those are for those damned expensive plane tickets that you bought that I'm not going to pay for. And that's where the argument started.
Well, that's $1,000. $1,400 less 4 is $1,000. So you owe him $1,000. So why didn't you pay them?
Because me and Mr. Rawls almost got into a confrontation. I told him I was not going to pay for those plane tickets on the credit card because they agreed to pay for them. And I said, I will pay back the $900 that I owe, but I will not pay for the $1,400 because I didn't put those other charges on.
So why didn't you give him the check for $900?
Because Mr. Rawls told me to get the out of the house and he would pay the bill. And Cassidy, my girlfriend, was right in the room and heard him say that as well.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ronald Rawls and his girlfriend Janice Olson say Janice's son, Michael Olson, owes them for unpaid loans. Michael says he's paid them in full.
Have you talked to your mother since you got out of the service?
Yes, ma'am.
So you have a reasonable relationship with your mother?
Tried to have.
Okay. Based upon all of your testimony, you say $900. It seems more like $1,000 that I can figure out you owe on this credit card. It's sort of a sad situation. It's too bad that it came to this. In any event, I'm entering a judgment in your favor for $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's just a greedy person.
Well, he calls me a greedy person, but what failed to come out in court that the boy burglarized my safe and stole $15,000 out of my safe.
He doesn't help anybody else out unless he wants something back in return.
The kid certainly should have some responsibility, but he has none. He has no credit. He has nothing. He changes jobs like you and I change socks.
Don't trust anybody but yourself.
Is suing her former tenants, 19-year-old student Joel Termott and his roommate, 20-year-old Chris Bilsbach, for damages to her property. Chris is countersuing, claiming Sherry's negligence led to his car catching on fire.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 123 on the calendar in the matter of Gregory versus Bilsbach Termott. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Gregory, according to your complaint, you owned some real estate that was rental property. You rented it to the two defendants and claimed that during the course of their tenancy, they trashed your property. They say they did nothing to your property but normal wear and tear, that they had some parties there that you were aware of, and they are counterclaiming. They say that during a snowstorm, you failed to plow the driveway, which caused their car to catch on fire. When did this lease begin?
The 1st of August in 2000.
How long was the lease?
It was a month-to-month affair because this is a property that I was trying to sell.
So you didn't have a written lease?
Yes, I do have a written lease.
Can I see it, please? Okay, so they rented the property on August 1st. When did you first see any damage to the property?
Well, I was getting complaints from neighbors.
What was the date?
Probably in October. It became obvious that they were having parties there and so forth.
Okay, when was the next time you were alerted that there may be any problem with the property?
Well, as the snow left and I could see that the land was fairly well destroyed all around the place from four-wheeling and so forth, but the final blow, I guess, came when the neighbors were complaining to the point where they were telling me I had to get rid of them. And that's when I went out in the first part of April, you know, discovered the...
I see some pictures there.
Yes.
So let me see the photographs.
Now, I should have sorted through. They're not all wonderful.
Is this a trailer?
It's a mobile home that has been built onto, and it's about 2,000 square foot.
Were these holes in the wall or anything else there when you rented it to them?
No, we were having some leakage with the roof, and they said that they could take care of that if I would buy the materials, which I did, and I have my receipts for that.
What I'm asking you, madam, is I'm going to show you some pictures. What I'd like you to do is take a look at these photographs and tell me whether this is the way the property looked when you rented it to them.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
No.
Would you show this to these two people? What is that?
That's a wall that's falling down.
No, it isn't. It's not a wall that's falling down. You want to explain that to me?
There were holes in the wall that were caused by parties that we had out there.
Okay, period. Good.
That's our refrigerator, Your Honor.
Was that the way it was when you got it?
That was our refrigerator when we moved in.
Oh, good. So I don't have to look at the refrigerator. Perfect. They bought the refrigerator, right? Madam?
That doesn't ring a bell with me.
Well, if it doesn't ring a bell with you, they say that they bought the refrigerator. I trust that they bought the refrigerator.
There were 2 refrigerators there. I'm sorry.
Same party?
Yes.
You got some nerve. What's wrong with you? Huh? What is wrong with you?
Well, in the beginning, when we rented the property, Sherry told us our deposit wasn't for the trailer. She didn't care about the trailer. She said, trash it or fix it. Those were her exact words. She don't care. Trash it or fix it. It's up to you. We fixed it in the first place. The roof got so bad. The house was totally unlivable. There was no hot water, no furnace.
So move. So
That's what we
move.
did.
You aren't being held a prisoner.
Also, before we...
I'm not finished with you. If the trailer is not habitable because there's no heat, no hot water, you have the ability to get out of this lease, right?
Correct.
You don't do this to somebody else's property. Nobody says trash it. Nobody normal. She's not abnormal.
Those were her words. Trash it or fix it.
Bull. Not common sense. Unless somebody is on heavy doses of something. And if you live in a place, and assuming that she was having a mental lapse and said that to you, you still don't do this.
Your
So
Honor,
you have to pay for all the damage.
maybe half the reason why she didn't care that we trashed it is she told me once that she had that trailer insured at over $30,000. It'd make a nice insurance claim. And that trailer is appraised at a little over $3,000 for the whole trailer. The roof damage well exceeds the $3,000 to have that roof repaired. So basically the trailer's worth nothing. And
Why
she
didn't you
hasn't
just live
insured-
there peacefully? I mean, what joy does somebody get in causing this kind of damage? What joy?
Teenage kids.
When we moved in,
If
Your
you're,
Honor,
just a second, did you move from your family's house into this property?
yes, Your Honor.
Did you do this to your parents' house?
No, Your Honor.
Then you know better. It's not as if you weren't housebroken. You were, in fact, housebroken.
When we moved in, Your Honor, the previous tenant had been convicted of trafficking meth, and the FBI had just done a raid on that exact trailer when we moved in. The place was completely unlivable. We spent over 40 hours fixing it up.
And what did you have to do?
We had to pick up heroin needles.
Motorcycles in our living room, our kitchen.
What did you do
About
with
10
them?
of them.
What did you do with them?
We had the salvage yard come pick them up.
Did you sell them to the salvage yard?
No.
You just gave them away?
Yes.
They were not worth anything. They were torn into parts.
Sherry told us
to get rid of them.
Yeah, she told us that it was our responsibility to clean up the trailer, and the lease of
So
since.
it says that you clean up the trailer. She's selling it as is. So far, I don't hear about anything like this.
Well,
I heard
when
you
we
got rid
moved
of a
in,
lot of junk inside.
The roof was always leaking when we moved in, and we never said it was no problem that we could fix it because the roof was in bad condition when we moved in. She had already had a professional contractor come out there and do the exact same thing that she bought us materials for. And the roof still was leaking, and there was no way we could get it repaired
Why would you fix the roof and do this to the walls?
because the roof was completely collapsing. When we first moved in, we tried as hard as we could to put up the roofing materials, but it didn't stop it. And that whole, there's 3 sections of the trailer. That third
if
section.
you notice that I didn't show you any pictures of the collapsing where there looks like there were leaks coming in. She's got them here. I didn't show you those because if you were renting a place and had a leaky roof, I don't hold you responsible for that at all. This I hold you responsible for. This doesn't come from a leaky roof.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sherry Gregory says former tenants Joel Termott and Chris Bilsbach trashed her property. Joel and Chris say Sherry is a con artist.
According to you, you were just following instructions, right?
Not necessarily following instructions, but knowing in the... You put 3 kids under the age of 19 in a house on a farm. You know what they're going to do, and you tell them they can trash it or fix it.
When we moved out
As a
there,
landlord, would any landlord do that and not expect this to happen?
when we moved out there, we told her.
Oh, may I please see the estimates of your damage?
Your Honor, I have one statement here from the insurance company which has paid a portion of that, okay?
I want to see the estimates of the damage that were not paid by your insurance.
That's this document.
Let me see what she's got to me. No, listen. First of all, strike out roof leaks, water damage. That was a problem that existed before they moved in, and it's your responsibility to take care of it. Carpet throughout. I can't tell what damage they caused and what damage your previous tenant caused because it seems to me that you did not examine that property before they moved in.
I did.
No, because I believe them when they said that they found needles in there, motorcycle parts in the trailer, and all that other kind of stuff that you told them to get rid of. Because in your lease it says that they take the property exactly as it's turned over to them. And I believe them because they were at least honest enough to say to me, I caused this. It was parties. And that's what happens when you rent to teenagers. I mean, that's pretty honest and damning. So I believe that there was a lot of junk in that place when they moved in. So how do I know when the damage was done to the carpet?
The carpet thing, the main carpet damage that I was talking about there was just where the roof had leaked and made
strike that. That's your responsibility.
I'm not talking about carpet throughout.
Outside debris cleanup. Do you have a bill for that?
I've got a man out there working now. It's just way too short a time to get a total estimate on it. And with the grass growing tall...
I can't help you unless I have a bill. This is you.
Right.
I need bills.
Your Honor, could I add one thing?
Yes.
She claims that she gave us our eviction notice on the 1st of April. We received our eviction notice on the 20th of April, which she had dated the 1st. So we'd only have 10 days, 11 days to get out, which was a totally false statement on the eviction notice. We were out within the week, within 7 days. We came out there within the last day, before the end of the month, and there was someone already living out there, cleaning up, doing work out there, re-drywalling, stuff like that. This is all stuff that I'm sure she's not paying him. I'm sure he's living there, he's fixing it up. She's telling him the same exact thing that she told us when we moved in there.
Just a minute.
Fix it.
Doesn't make what you did to the property right.
No.
Okay.
But she's got someone living there while we were still paying rent, where we were still supposed to be living there. She's got someone there just because she knew we were out.
Who's living there now?
The person he's talking about did not have permission to be there at that time. I didn't know that person was there. He was someone that was wanting to rent it because when I called and...
Is he still there?
2 different people.
Who's living there?
Mark.
When did Mark move in?
The 10th or 11th of May.
That's not correct, Your Honor. We went back before the 1st of May, and I went in my room to get some stuff that I still had there, and there was like 3 snakes and a bunch of hamsters living in my bedroom, and that was before the 1st of May.
All right. Interior debris cleanup. Yeah, you're going to pay for that, boys.
But
I'm allocating $200 to clean it up. Now.
We had till the 1st. We went out there the 28th to clean up that weekend.
Why didn't you clean up before you moved out?
We moved all our personal stuff out.
Why didn't you clean up before you moved out?
This is 7 days after we got the eviction notice. We were out. We went back to clean up on the 7th day. Someone else was already living there.
Okay. Approximately 3 acres. Seeding? You have a bill for that?
My farmer tenant out there will do that work. He has never presented me with his...
Then I can't help you, Miss Gregory. I need bills. How do I know whether it costs $3,000 to reseed 3 acres? How do I know that? All I know is that you can go and you can rent a spreader for $20, and for another $50, you can buy a whole bunch of seed. Is that right?
I'm not a farmer.
Well, I know. I mean, I know a little bit about that, and if you want to, then you spread it. and you spread it, and grass grows. You have $3,000.
Your Honor.
Ms. Gregory, it's ridiculous. I mean, do you want me to dismiss this case without prejudice? Go and get bills? Go and get estimates? I'm not going to do anything.
May I say?
Sure.
This is land that does not just need seeding, it needs completely smoothed out because of all the ruts and everything from the four-wheeling and driving on areas that never should have been driven on.
Well, Ms. Gregory, you have your choice, madam. Do you want me to dismiss your case without prejudice? You can refile it at some later point when you get the estimates for these things. Or do you want me to continue? If I continue, I have no idea what I'm going to come up with. So far, I got $200 because that's what it looks like it would cost anybody to spend 4 hours in cleaning up the mess that they left inside. That's it. What do you want to do? You need proof when you come to court. This is not proof. A prepared statement is not proof of damage.
Well, I asked for this from both the tenant farmer that will do the work on the land and from the guy that is doing the repairs on the house. And he didn't submit that to me. He said, Sherry, the minimum it's going to take on that roof and the water damage part is $2,500.
We didn't cause the roof and water damage, Your Honor.
I struck out the water damage because that was a problem before they moved in.
It was supposed to have been repaired by them. I bought them materials to take care of it.
That's your problem. Tenants don't do that. And if you rented the property to two teenagers and you tell them that the roof leaks, I'm going to buy a material and fix it, and if you have a real interest in your property, then what you do is you go back 3 weeks later and check your property and see if it's been done properly. What do you mean,
No, I mean, it's something
How much did you get from the insurance company?
Here,
Just tell me how much you got from the insurance company.
$12,329.31.
For, quiet. For all the damage.
For the things that they had listed.
Your Honor, I have a copy from the county assessor appraising the trailer that she got insurance money for.
She got $12,000 from the insurance company. She can take care of the property from that. I just finished plaintiff's case. Let's get to your nonsense. She didn't plow the driveway? Huh?
She told, we live in the middle of the country. The driveway has a very big incline.
Yeah.
Because of that, it's hard to get up when there's a big snow, and the fact that it drifts twice as high as much snowfall as you have.
So?
She told us, we were telling her we had problems getting up the driveway. She's like, well, I'll have the farmer or a neighbor come plow the driveway. Never seen it. Never came around.
No. She said have the farmer or the neighbor plow the driveway.
Yeah, someone that she knew that had a plow would come out and
No,
clean our
that's
driveway.
not what you just said. You just said to me, she said to you, have the farmer or the neighbor plow the driveway.
Yes, her as the landlord was going to take care of it. It was her
No,
responsibility.
did she say that?
Yes.
No. I don't believe she said that. She said have one of your neighbors take care of that.
No, she didn't tell us to have it done.
Really?
She said she was going to have it done.
When did she tell you that?
We don't know the farmer. We don't know the neighbors. The neighbors
They don't
are-
want to know you. I got news
The neighbors
for you.
she's talking about, she has sold part of this 80 acres too.
Okay. And when was the first time that you had a problem with snow?
We had,
Give me the date. First date you had a problem with snow.
well, in Nebraska it snows from November till
So the first problem you had was in November?
Correct.
probably more like October.
So the first problem that you had was in October and you couldn't get your car out?
The thing is it wasn't the fact that I got it stuck, it was the fact I left it at the house and rode to work with him, or rode to school with him, because he had a four-wheel drive. I knew I wouldn't make it out.
Tell me whose car exploded.
That was mine, Your Honor.
Well, how did that happen?
Fire department says it caught on fire.
Don't tell me what the fire department says.
It caught on
That's
fire because it
hearsay.
got stuck
Where did it get stuck?
in the driveway.
Yes, and you tried to start it? I mean, it
Sure.
didn't...
It was
didn't
running when I got stuck.
Spontaneous combustion. It didn't just explode because it wasn't
No,
like
it caught on
sitting...
fire. The tires caught the engine on fire.
Yes, because you kept trying to move it. I assume you were trying to move it.
Well, as soon as it got stuck, yes, I tried getting out. I didn't try and get out for, 10 minutes. I tried to get out, 30 seconds. I knew I was stuck. I mean, it was buried. The car was completely not going anywhere. I turned it off, walked up to the house in sub-30-degree weather, went up to the house, and I couldn't see the car from the driveway. The car burned up. The fire department called me, said, your car's on fire.
Oh, okay. So what do you want from me? What do you want from her?
Well, it's a countersuit. She said, and as a landlord, she was going to take care of having the driveway plowed.
And if she didn't take care of
She
it
told me
starting...
she was
Listen,
gonna-
hey, listen to me carefully. When did your car catch on fire? What month?
December.
December. If she told you initially, and you say it starts to snow in October in Nebraska, that she was going to plow, and she didn't plow, you know what you do? Move! October, move November, move December. You're not a prisoner there. You don't like the leaks, you move. You don't like the heat, you move. You don't trash it. You don't blame her for anything. You get out. So, you got $12,000 from the insurance company? Good. You have no case because you have no proof of any additional damage. You have no case. Period. Driveway wasn't plowed. You don't want to get out a shovel and plow your car. You drive with him. He couldn't move his car. Move. Don't rent to teenagers anymore. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She told us we could trash it or fix it.
I knew boys that age were not going to be Betty Crockers, but I didn't say trash it.
And maybe she meant something else, but that's what she told us.
The boy before them had, you know, not too good a housekeeping habits either, but they didn't destroy the place.
I just find it funny that you already got $12,000 for a trip.
Chastity Newby for terminating her daycare services without proper notice. Chastity says Charity neglected her children. She's countersuing for medical bills and lost wages.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Miss. Yeah, this is case number 84 on the calendar in the matter of Macumber versus Newby. You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Miss Macumber, according to the complaint that I have read, you were employed by the defendant as a babysitter for her two children, her little girl who was 5 and a baby who was a year and a half old. You claim that she fired you.
Yes.
She fired you owing you money.
Yes.
And she has some of your property. The defendant says that she owes you nothing and is counterclaiming because she says that because of your negligence, one of her children was hospitalized for 3 days. How did you come to work for her?
A friend of mine had gotten my number from her, and then she contacted me because I was going to start a child daycare center. And she didn't want to bring the children to my home, so I went to her home.
Are you a licensed daycare provider?
I'm getting my license.
So you are not a licensed
No.
daycare provider. Do you have your own children?
I have one son.
How old is your son?
He's 10 months.
So you would be watching 3 children.
Right.
And what was the salary arrangement?
I was supposed to get paid $15 a day for the baby and $12 a day for the 5-year-old.
So a total of $27 a day.
Correct. She was also to give me a 2-week notice if she wasn't gonna, if she was gonna have another babysitter.
Okay, is that correct?
No, that's not correct.
What's not correct?
There was no verbal agreement about a 2-week notice, either on my part or her part.
Okay. Were there any problems that occurred between the time you started to work for her, which was the 15th of February?
Correct.
And mid-April when you were fired?
There was a couple times where she had called me complaining that I was not taking care of her children right, that I wasn't giving them enough attention, I wasn't feeding them correct.
What happened in April?
I had to go and pick up my nephew from preschool, and I had told her on Monday I had to get him on Friday. And I took the children with me, and I had the baby and my son in a car seat, and I had the 5-year-old in the front seat with a seatbelt. When we got there, I went inside and grabbed my nephew.
That's not where you would normally put the 5-year-old, is that right?
No, I put her in the front seat just like her mom does.
There's no airbags in my car.
Go ahead.
When I got to the preschool, my son was sleeping, and the night before I had taken him to the emergency room. And I didn't get home until midnight, and my son did not sleep the rest of the night. So since he was sleeping, I didn't want to disturb him because it was the first time he had gotten to sleep. I knew I just had to go into the door, grab my nephew, and come right back out. So I didn't see any harm in leaving the 5-year-old with the 2 children, since he was sleeping, running in and coming right back. I was gone maybe 1 to 2 minutes. That was it. Actually, the night before when I went to the emergency room, I had asked her to if she could find somebody else to watch her children because my son was so sick. She told me she would try to get her aunt.
Just a minute. We're going back. You left the 3 children in the car.
Correct.
And I assume you locked the car.
Yes.
Where do you live?
Kingman, Arizona.
What was the temperature in April?
It was probably like 80, 85 at the time.
Did you leave the car on or off?
I left it off with the windows rolled down.
With the windows rolled down?
The windows were up.
Just a second. So anybody could have come in the car in that minute or 2?
There were people outside, and I had asked one of the teachers to watch the car.
How old was your nephew that you were picking up?
4.
Where did you put your nephew? In the car?
In the back seat.
Strapped in?
Yes.
Why didn't you put her 5-year-old there?
Because I let her be in the front seat so she could see everything, and I figured since I was watching her...
She can't see a thing. She's 5 years old. She can't see over that. All she's looking at is the dashboard.
My nephew likes to be in the back seat with his cousin. That's why I put him back there. I always put him back there.
Have you picked your nephew up from school before with the children?
Yes.
With or without her permission?
With.
Is that right?
Before, not this time. Yes, this time was without my permission. I told her not to leave.
Okay.
That's not true.
Okay. What time did you get home with the children?
Noon.
Go ahead.
When I got back to the house, my son had gotten a higher temperature. I called Chastity at work to find out about, calling her aunt to be there. She told me that she couldn't call because she was too busy, that when her husband got home that I could have him call the aunt to see if the aunt could come. When he did come home, probably about 10 minutes after I called her, when he got out of the car, he started cussing, saying that he shouldn't have even came home.
So what did you do? He
told me to go ahead and leave. When I returned home, after being at the doctor's all day, my girlfriend was there because she comes over every day from when her husband works. When she called my girlfriend, she started cussing and saying I was a bad mother, that I was neglectful, and that I shouldn't have been able to babysit her children.
Did she speak to you?
I called her back. She told me that I neglected the children, that she was going to file a police report on me if I filed a small claims on her. She said that I shouldn't be allowed to watch children because I was unstable. Then she told me that she didn't want me to watch her kids again, and I told her fine.
Had you been paid for that week?
No, she did not pay me for that week.
And how many hours did you work that week?
I worked Monday,
Tuesday,
Wednesday, and Thursday.
You didn't work Thursday?
Half day.
Not even a half day. $27 a day?
Correct.
$81 for the 3 days?
Correct.
So what are you suing her for $415.98 for?
For the 2-week notice that we verbally agreed to, and she's got some of my belongings.
Now, what belongings do you claim she has?
She has a black sweater that I had left that day.
Do you have a black sweater of hers?
Not a black sweater. I have a stuffed animal dog of hers. I have a box of baby cereal and a little thing of juice. That's all I have at my house.
And a can of formula.
Oh, come on. You're talking about nonsense, Miss McCumber.
When it's $20 a can.
Wick pays for it, though, so.
Just a second. You have those things? You have some
Yes,
formula?
I do.
Fine. Put them in a shopping bag, and we'll make arrangements for those things to come back to her. All right. You want to tell me your version of the events that happened, and I assume you want to tell me something of your counterclaim.
Yes. Charity did watch my children for 2.5 months. Within that time, we had a couple problems. I asked her to feed my kids nutritionally. I didn't want them fed hot dogs or Pop-Tarts every single day, and that was one of the problems.
No.
And
don't interrupt her. She didn't interrupt you.
The reason I knew this is there was a couple occasions where I would always ask, how did the kids eat today? What did they eat? And she would tell me, oh, they had a cheese sandwich and applesauce. Well,
Miss Newby,
the applesauce jar wasn't even open, so she would lie about what she fed them.
Let me tell you this. Finding proper child care for working parents is a very difficult thing, and sometimes you blink and turn the other way if things aren't 100% perfect. But I would assume, Miss Newby, that if you felt as if she was really neglecting your children, you wouldn't have allowed her to watch your children for 2.5 months.
She had promised and said she would do better, that she wouldn't lie anymore, that she would take better care of the children, she would take my kids outside. And as far as her leaving with my kids in the car, that was another problem. She had gone 2 other times with my permission. She had called me at work, told me it was an emergency. I said, okay. Then I talked to her about it, and I told her I did not want it to happen again.
So you didn't give her permission?
She called me at work. She asked me.